Okay, here we are in 2-3, elimination plus fractions. Now let's go ahead and talk about our very first example. And I want to create something that we can't easily eliminate. So let's say 2x minus 3y is equal to 0. And then we're going to try and solve this system with, I don't know, something like this. 5x, let's say plus 2y is equal to 1. Now this is probably going to come out to be a pretty terrible answer, but let's go ahead and tackle it. Now, here's the first problem that we're going to run into. Changing my colors. Remember, with elimination, we're asking what number can we multiply 2 by to get to 5? Well, there's no whole number that we can use. Or, conversely, what number do we want to multiply 5 by to get to 2? Well, that's impossible as well. And what about multiplying 3 by a number to get to 2, or 2 by a number to get to 3? Well, there's no whole numbers that we can multiply that would make that possible. So what are we going to do? Well, you get your choice. You get to pick x or y, and I am going to go over here and I'm going to pick my x's. And my x's are 2 and 5, and I'm going to find the LCM of 2 and 5. So we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and 5, 10. And you know, there's no real need to go any further because I found my LCM. My LCM of 5 and 2 is 10. So what does that really mean? That means that we want to multiply both of these equations by a number so that our x values have a coefficient of 10. Okay, well, you probably know this. 2 times 5 would get us to 10, and 5 times 2 would get us to 10. And now we have enough information to create our system. So 5 times 2x would give me 10x, that's a 10, and 5 times negative 3y would give me negative 15y is equal to, and of course 5 times 0 is 0. Now how about here? We know that 2 times 5x is 10x. Oh, wait a second. Can y'all see my mistake? If we want to eliminate them, one has to be positive and one has to be negative. Now that's a simple fix. We'll just make that a negative. Okay, so that becomes a negative 10x, and negative 2 times positive 2 gives me negative 4y is equal to, and of course negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. Alright, so if I go to add these, we know that my 10x minus 10x actually eliminates, and negative 15y minus 4y would give me negative 19y. Now of course this will equal 0 minus 2, which is negative 2. And if I then go to finish this, well, I can divide both sides by negative 19, divide by negative 19, and we will get this. We will get y is equal to 2 over 19. Because, guys, we know negative divided by negative is a positive. All right, now we found the y value, but of course, at this point, y'all know that's not enough. We now have to find the x value. Now, I'm going to take this equation right here because it has one of our star numbers. It has the number 0. And anytime you can use the number 0, it would be to your benefit. So I take my original equation, and we have 2x minus 3y is equal to 0. And guys, we know that for the y value, we're going to plug in this 2 over 19. 2 over 19. Okay. Now from here, guys, we also know that 3 is really 3 over 1. Okay. So what's our next line going to look like? Well, that's going to be 2x. And on top, we have negative 3 times 2, which is negative 6 over. And on the bottom, 1 times 19, which is, in fact, still 19. And this equals 0. And while this may look a little bit difficult at first, understand that negative 6 over 19 is still our constant. So it doesn't matter what it looks like, but we always get rid of our constant first by getting rid of the addition or subtraction. So what's the opposite of minus 6 over 19? Well, that would of course be plus 6 over 19. And of course plus 6 over 19. So that 0 pair goes away, and now we have this. Let's see if we can actually squeeze this answer in. We have 2x. In fact, let me use like a nice little color to kind of divide this off. Okay, there we go. We have 2x is equal to 6 over 19. Now the question becomes, how do you get rid of the 2 when you have a fraction on the other side? anytime there are fractions involved, don't divide, multiply by the reciprocal. So 2 is really 2 over 1. I'll even use a different color here. We're going to multiply the left side by its reciprocal, 1 over 2, which means we have to multiply the right side by that same value, 1 over 2. And of course, those go away, and we get our final answer here. X is equal to 6 times 1 is 6 over 19 times 2, 38. So I now have my X value and I have my Y value. And if you'll pause with me for just 1 second, and here I've cleared out this space right here for our answer. We know every point is made up of an X and a Y, and here of course our X value, 6 over 38, those can both be divided by 2, which will give us 3 over 19. Oh, that's strange. Okay, that'll give us 3 over 19, and our Y value is going to be 2 over 19. Alright, guys, I know that was a messy fraction, but let's move on to one more example just in case you're not feeling confident in the math here. Okay, here we are in example 2, and we have negative 4x minus 2y equals 3, and 3x plus 3y is equal to negative 7. Now remember, you get to choose here because there's no number I can multiply 4 by to get to 3 or vice versa, and there's no number I can multiply 2 by to get to 3 or vice versa. So what are we really saying here? We get to choose our x's or our y's. In this case, let's go ahead and choose our y's just to show you that this can work anytime. And I see that my y values are negative 2 and positive 3. Now the negative really doesn't matter here, we're just finding the LCM. So let's go ahead and write out the factors of 2. 2, 4, 6, and wait a second, the factors of 3 are 3 and then 6, and we have our LCM. We have an LCM of 6. LCM of 6. Now this is what we are going to try and get both of our y terms to become. So right here, I will multiply my top equation. I see here this is that negative 2, and so we're going to do negative 2 times 3, that will give us a 6. And down here on the bottom, we see that our y term is a 3, so we got to do 3 times 2, and that will get us to 6. Notice that the top y is negative and the bottom y is positive, so we don't need to worry about multiplying by any sort of negative number. Okay, let's go ahead and distribute. I know that 3 times negative 4x is negative 12x. I know that 3 times negative 2y is negative 6y, and of course 3 times 3 will give me 9. On the bottom I have 2 times 3x, which is 6x, and 2 times 3y, which is 6y, and of course 2 times negative 7, which is negative 14. Okay, and notice something. We have a negative 6y and a positive 6y, and those are eliminated. Once again, that's why we call this the elimination method. Now from here, negative 12x plus 6y will give us negative 6x. I'm sorry, negative 12x plus 6x will give us negative 6x equals, and of course, 9 minus 14 is negative 5. So, we know we can divide both of these by negative 6. And now we have this, x equals positive 5 over 6 as our answer. Oh, and guys, look at all this room that I have to work with. Oh, this is fantastic. Now, from here we know x is equal to positive 5 over 6. Now let's choose a color that pops just a little bit more. Switch over this nice orange. And notice, if my denominator is 6, I would be better served using my bottom equation, because 3 is a factor of 6 and it's a larger number. Now, let me kind of show you what I mean by that. We can write 3 right there, we lucked out. 3x plus 3y is equal to negative 7. Now notice I'll switch back to this red to write my x value, 5 over 6. And switching back to my nice little UT orange here, we have 3 over 1. Now let's go ahead and multiply this out. So I got 3 times 5, which is 15 on top. On the bottom, 1 times 6, which is 6, plus 3y equals negative 7. Now notice something here. 15 over 6 can be reduced. Both of these can be divided by 3, which is why that 3 was so nice right there. Since they can both be divided by 3, we get a smaller number. Okay, so 15 divided by 3 and 6 divided by 3. I'm just kind of working out to my left. Well, I know that that will give me 5 over 2 plus 3y is equal to negative 7. Now from here, I'm going to try and fit the rest of this work over here. Let's see. We know that if we bring this up right here, we have 5 over 2 plus 3y equals negative 7, and we will subtract 5 over 2 minus 5 over 2. And I tell you what, let's just do this. We'll do our fraction work right here, and then we'll kind of reset and clean up. So I have negative 7 over 1 minus 5 over 2, and I need to multiply my top and bottom here by a number to get to this denominator of 2. So I'll multiply by 2 over 2. And so we know that 2 times negative 7 is negative 14 over 2 times 1 is 2, and our original fraction minus 5 over 2, and this will get us to negative 19 over 2. Now, I'm going to keep all of this right here, but I'm probably going to delete the rest of this. So pause the video, take any notes that you need. Okay, so we just found our fraction of negative 19 over 2. And if you will recall, this was 3y equals that. So let me just start that over here. And we have 3y equals negative 19 over 2. That's what we did all this fraction work together, is we wanted to combine that negative 7 and negative 5 over 2. Oh, and that was an equal sign there. Okay, so now notice we have this fraction. So we'll write this as 3 over 1. We'll multiply by the reciprocal times 1 over 3, and we will get this. Y equals negative 19 over 6. Well, guys, check it out. Now that I have my x value, I have my y value, I can now write my answer, where my x value comes first, 5 over 6, comma, negative 19 over 6. And there is our answer. All right, guys, y'all have a wonderful day.